In this video, we're going to discuss the by-election which is taking place in Wales on Thursday. While by-elections can be interesting, they're rarely exciting enough to justify a video, especially a video with a title like this. However, this vote in Brecon and Radnorshire could truly shape the future of Brexit and UK politics more generally. Before we get to that though, I want to ask a quick favour from you. Normally we ask you guys to sign up to our Patreon or to buy merch. But this time it's super simple. Please subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. Getting subscribers obviously helps us reach more people, but it also improves our credibility when we're trying to reach out to experts and potential interviewees. Also, as a little incentive, once we reach 300,000 subscribers, we have 3 major announcements about TLDR that we'll share. So hit the subscribe button to help us get one step closer. Also, if you're already subscribed, consider hitting the bell icon to get notified when we release a video. Anyway, let's get on with the video. So tomorrow, the 1st of August, the constituency of Brecon and Radnorshire will head to the polls for a by-election. For those who don't know, a by-election is an election that happens between general elections. Normally, this is because an MP has stood down, died, or sometimes changed parties. What makes this one more interesting is that the current MP for Brecon and Radnorshire has not stood down. He's very much still alive, and he's still a member of his current party. The reason this one's being called is because of a new mechanism in British politics, the recall petition. Unlike our neighbours across the pond, Britain does not have a history with this mechanism, and it was only introduced in 2015. The bill that introduced it stated that a recall petition is triggered if an MP has convicted certain crimes. Once triggered, the petition must reach 10% of eligible voters for a by-election to be called. It's important to note that the British system doesn't currently have a mechanism for constituents to recall their MP. It can only be triggered if the MP has committed crimes or wrongdoings in office. In this by-election, the current Conservative MP, Chris Davies, was convicted for submitting fake expense reports for £700 worth of invoices for landscape photographs. This resulted in a £1,500 fine and 50 hours of community service, and triggered the second recall election in British political history. Mr Davies lost the recall election, with 19% of eligible voters signing it, well above the 10% threshold. Prior to this bill passing, MPs were difficult to remove from office. This could be done if the MP had spent more than a year in prison, but other than that, there weren't many other ways of getting rid of them. According to the House of Commons briefing paper from March 2019, there have been 23 sitting MPs that have been sentenced to time in prison since 1979. For example, Bernadette Devlin, who was convicted to 6 months imprisonment for inciting violence, and served 6 months in prison starting in December 1969. This was related to the Troubles in Northern Ireland. For non-UK viewers, the Troubles were... Actually, let's scrap that. This was meant to be a fairly short video. Maybe that's a topic for another time. Anyway, she spent some time in prison, but couldn't be ejected from the House of Commons because she wasn't incarcerated for more than a year. In a less serious case, and something the scriptwriter insisted we kept in, David Weitzman was convicted of, and we're quoting here, conspiracy related to unlawful supply of toilet preparations, lipstick, by his brother's Newington Supply Company, contrary to wartime regulations, and was sentenced to 12 months imprisonment and fined £500. A movement to have him removed from office was quashed, so he remained MP. Anyway, I'm sure that little tangent has renewed the classic criticism of us not living up to our name, but hey, everyone loves a backstory, and I'm sure someone has timestamped when the real video actually starts in the comments already. So, moving on to Brecon and Radnorshire. This constituency has existed since 1918, when the Brecon and Radnorshire constituencies were merged. It was mainly a farming constituency, which made it difficult for Labour to win, because Labour did best in predominantly mining constituencies. That's not to say that the constituency didn't vote Labour for much of the 20th century, but it did succumb to Thatcherism in 1979, with the Conservative MP increasing their majority in 1983. Since then though, a Liberal MP has usually represented the constituency, until 2015, when the Liberal Democrats lost this seat, along with many others, to the Conservatives. So enough history and backstory, let's cut to the chase. The Conservatives held the seat until their MP was recalled. Tomorrow there's a by-election in the constituency, and the Conservatives really need to win. That's because, as Alistair Simpson has pointed out, if the Conservatives lose this seat, their working majority drops to -1. He explains that in the House of Commons, Sinn Féin and Northern Irish Party don't vote, and neither does the Speaker, because he's far too busy uttering his famous catchphrase.
Order, I thank the Prime Minister.
With those people excluded, there's only 642 voting members in the House of Commons. 321 of them are part of the governing alliance. That's 311 Conservatives and 10 DUP members. Therefore, if they lost this vote, the government wouldn't have an operating majority. There would be 321 members of the governing alliance and 322 opposition MPs. In crucial votes, the government would then need to figure out a way to get an additional vote in order to win a majority. This, however, assumes that the Conservatives will lose the seat, though this is a fairly safe assumption, considering that the local Conservative Party chose to field Chris Davies as the candidate, the very same Chris Davies who had 19% of his constituency sign a petition to remove him from office. The other candidates fighting for the seat are Tom Davies of Labour, a local councillor at Brecon Town Council, Jane Dodds for the Liberal Democrats, the leader of the Welsh Liberal Democrats, Des Parkinson for the Brexit Party, a former police superintendent and former UKIP candidate, Liz Phillips for UKIP, and also Lady Lily the Pink for the Monster Raving Loony Party. You might have noticed some parties missing from this list. And you're right, it's important to note that Plaid Cymru, the Greens, Change UK and the Renew Group have all stood behind Jane Dodds and the Liberal Democrats, deciding not to field candidates to improve her chances of winning. This is likely because they're all Remain-leaning parties, with the possible exception of the Renew Group. So they're hoping that by teaming up together, they increase the likelihood of a Remain candidate winning. It's not so important to note here, but again, the scriptwriter has insisted we do so, that for non-UK viewers, the Monster Raving Loony Party is a satirical party that's been going for decades. Their manifesto includes the policy of setting up the Frivolous Fraud Office, to inspect fraud too silly for the Serious Fraud Office, and kids being made to sit closer together on smaller desks in order to reduce school class sizes. They also have this meme on their website's homepage. Anyway, to ensure that Jack keeps any of this in, we're going to get back to serious matters. According to electoral calculus, the Lib Dems are predicted to win this seat with 30.5% of the vote. This is also what the bookmakers predict. So it's looking likely that the Conservatives won't win this election, and therefore after this by-election, Johnson is going to have his government tipped into dangerous territory. Losing the working majority makes it increasingly difficult for Johnson, at a time when his government already wasn't looking completely stable. Even after the 2007 snap election, the Conservatives didn't have a majority, so they needed to prop up their government with the backing of the DUP. But as we said earlier, even with the DUP on side, the Conservatives won't have a working majority if they lose this seat. Considering the difficult decisions that Parliament will have to tackle in the autumn, not having a majority only makes things harder for Johnson. He'll be forced to start working closer with other parties in order to get enough people together to back his proposals. It's also worth noting that a decent chunk of the Conservative Party, Johnson's own party, don't like their leader, and a good percentage don't like the idea of a no-deal Brexit. So if Johnson can't even rely on his own party's backing, it's hard to see how he's going to reach a consensus with the other parties. Brexit was never going to be easy for Johnson, or any other Prime Minister for that matter, but losing this election, and therefore losing a working majority, would only make the process harder. If you want to be kept up to date with Brexit news and the result of this election, make sure to subscribe to this channel. If you've watched the video this long, you probably enjoyed it, and if you have and you're not subscribed already, we'd really appreciate it if you subscribe to our channel. As we said at the beginning, we're trying to build our subscriber base to gain our credibility and help us reach more people. And something else I mentioned at the beginning, we have 3 big announcements to make, and we just can't wait to tell you when we hit 300,000 subscribers. So if you want to lend us a hand, then make sure to hit that subscribe button. And if you've already done it, then you can hit the bell icon to make sure you get notified every time we release a video. I promise the announcements are genuinely pretty cool and exciting, so it's worth doing. You can also find TLDR news across other social networks simply by searching for TLDR news. Also, if you want to find your name at the end of the videos like these people, make sure to sign up to our Patreon. There's a link to that in the description.